This is me in high school. This is me in music school. This is me on stage in Amsterdam performing in front of about 500 people who all bought tickets to see my show. And this is me 3 years ago, 33 years old, calling the IT department because Microsoft Outlook wasn't working. What happened? Does this mean I failed as an artist?
The quest for groove.
When I graduated from the conservatory as a guitar player in 2008, I actually already had some artistic success with an endeavor that wasn't guitar. It was actually a cappella vocal group that I had with some of my friends from high school. And, you know, we would sing songs a cappella, but we also would make jokes and do some other stuff in between the songs. And wherever we would perform, whenever we would perform, people would really like it. They would sit there or stand there and listen, pay attention. They would ask for more. And that was actually something that I hadn't really experienced doing my jazzy music school stuff. So after graduating from conservatory, it didn't take long for me to realize like, hey, I think we've got something here, right? This is the one artistic thing that I'm doing that people actually want to listen to. So it didn't take us that long to see if we could make a show, 1.5 hours, singing songs, making jokes, just giving people a fun night watching a musical comedy show. We developed a half-hour show first, and then we showed that to booking agents, and then the booking agents also really saw the potential, and then they booked us a tour 1.5 to 2 years later. So we had time to make a long show, which we did. And 2 years later, we were touring the country. We had about 100 shows booked, and almost every night we would play and perform in front of people who actually bought tickets to see the show and would give us applause. Most of the time. Some people walked out because we made some offensive jokes, but like most people actually really liked it. So if you would take that initial period where we started out touring the country and you would put that into a little success graph, it would probably look something like this, right? It's a line that starts at 0 because we started at 0, and all of a sudden the line was going up. And if you see a line like this, it's pretty likely that some euphoric thoughts arise, right? So to the moon, this is only the beginning. We are the voice of a generation. But now let's add one little number to this graph. $1,000, 1,000 euros a month per person. That's basically what we could pay ourselves at that time. We made about 100,000 euros a year touring, but of that 100,000 euros, half of it gets eaten up by the booking agent, by the theaters themselves, by expenses like our technician, gasoline for the car, and all of you who are now inclined to type that we should have just slept in the van. Well, the Netherlands is actually so small that we drove home every night. So we slept in our own beds. We drove home in one car, the 4 of us in one car, and we slept in our own beds every night. And that still left us with about 50,000 euros a year to live off of, which we had to divide between 4 people. So each of us got $1,000 a month. And we were fucking thrilled. Yeah, we were actually really, really happy with that $1,000. Because if you look at this graph, you look at the line going up and you apply some youthful crypto type technical analysis to that, you come to the conclusion that the line will go like this, right? How can it not? I mean, come on. Now, spoiler alert, this is what the line turned out to look like over the next decade. Basically flat. And if you correct for inflation, it would probably go down just a tad bit, right? And that is basically a depiction right here of the dangers of moderate success. Because after that initial burst, you think that the next big leap is just around the corner, because it has to be, right? The potential is clearly there. If you just put your head down, if you just work hard, make sacrifices, if you make a better second show, a better third show, which we did that. If people who see you on one of those awesome nights where everything goes well, if all those people tell their friends, and if those friends tell their friends, then, you know, it will happen, right? It has to happen, because how can it not? And yet that line stays flat and the distance to your peers who all got regular office jobs seems to grow year by year when they're buying a house or having children or going on vacation even. And after 10 years of that, what do you do? So when the decision was made that we would stop making theater shows because it just was no longer feasible, I didn't start looking for an office job right away or anything. I actually got introduced to this whole idea of passive income because it was 2017 at the time, and you all know about it now. But passive income was sort of like a cool idea, right? Make some online content, you dump it on YouTube, you sell some digital products, and then you just let the money roll in. And you sit on a beach with blue ass water and you live the good life. Well, in my case, I wasn't actually envisioning me sitting on a beach. I don't even like beaches. I was just envisioning that I would sell these online courses like finger drumming lessons, and I would do it really well, and I would sell that. Money would come in passively. I would have lots of time in my home studio to make music and then actually make the music that I wanted because I was financially independent, right? That was my whole dream. So that's when I started the Quest for Groove, actually. In 2017, I started working on it. And in 2018, I launched the Quest for Groove thinking that all my problems would be solved. But I soon discovered that, first of all, passive income doesn't really exist. You just have to work for your money. Second of all, and that ties into this first thing, is that I quickly also noticed that I started obsessing over my online business the same way I start obsessing over my art. So to give you an example, like where first I would sort of obsess about my snare sounding like crap and wanting everything to sound nice and what microphone do I need and all that stuff. Now I started to obsess about what camera do I need, how to make my website the best version possible. How can I design it so that left-handed people can also watch the videos and read the diagrams and stuff like that. And then I was obsessing about, oh shit, if I sell a digital product to someone from Albania, I should technically contact the Albanian IRS and give them my tax money, right? How do I do that well without breaking the law? And that's exactly how I am. I always just, if I do something, I want to do it well. And instead of me having time to focus on my art, my website and my online business basically became one big educational / artistic crossover project that would cost me a lot of time and would actually not pay me enough money to live off of. And some of you might think, hey, Rob, but hey, you just got started, right? Look at this line. Here's my little views line from 2018 going into 2019. Hey, that line is going up. So, put your head down, work hard, make sacrifices, the thing I just said before. But you can now also understand why I'm looking at that line at that point, thinking like, yeah, maybe, but maybe not. So all of that was sort of playing out in the back of my mind when quite unexpectedly this new opportunity arose. Because I had been calling around a little bit to especially my friends who worked in media, TV, film at the time, to ask if they had any work for me as a composer, as a musician. I figured that would be my best way to make some extra money on the side besides my passive, not passive teaching business online. And I was already doing some of that, but I figured if I could triple that, then I would be good. I would make a reasonable living for myself. And I've been doing that. And then 1 month in, something happens that I can only describe as a classic privileged white guy experience, because I got offered a job, like an office job, by a friend of mine who worked for a TV show on national TV, a quiz show, and they needed somebody. And I just talked to him to ask if I could make any music for him. He said, well, you cannot make any music for me, but you can come and work with me on that quiz show because I think you're the right man for the job. Are you willing to do that? And I guess, humbled by my life's experiences and cleansed of any youthful optimism that I might have had left at the time, I decided to just say yes, to just go for it. I figured I can always quit if I really don't like it, and I just wanted to see what it was like on the other side, on the side of going into the office, doing your work, cashing your paycheck and not always just having to give 1,000%, often for no money, for exposure. You know, all artists who see this know what I'm talking about. That's the artist life. That's all I've ever known up until that point. And I figured I want to see what it's like there on the other side. And I accepted the offer. And today, 2022, 3 years later, at the age of 36, I'm still doing that job. I'm still working in the office. And I noticed some things. I feel a little song coming up, by the way, but not yet, not yet. First, talk about the things that I noticed. The first thing that I noticed was that as an artist, you always feel this need to say yes to everything, right? Either because you need the money or because you don't want to miss out on opportunities in the future. And now that I had this steady paycheck coming in, I felt the freedom for the first time to say no to the really shitty jobs that I actually never wanted to do, which basically always would amount to me fixing problems that really shouldn't have been there in the first place. Those types of jobs, if I felt that they were like that, I would just start saying no to those. And I would also start to charge more money for the jobs that I would take on. And something pretty confronting happened, which is that basically my work dried up. Like, I got no more jobs coming in. And it made me realize that apparently my main selling point was the fact that I would always give 1,000% for a ridiculously low amount of money. And I wasn't actually worth a reasonable living wage, apparently, because nobody would hire me. And yeah, that's still a bit confronting to admit, but that's the first thing that I noticed over the past couple of years. And the second thing is that I noticed that once you open the floodgates of actually making a living wage, it's really hard to go back. Because for the first time in my life, I started saving for retirement, for example. And I invested in a personal trainer who helps me out in the gym 3 times a week, half an hour. It's like the best thing that ever happened to me. And I couldn't afford that before, but now I can. And I wake up every day and I make myself this delicious flat white cappuccino milk drink with a very fancy espresso machine that I bought for myself. That I'm actually, it's been one of the biggest joys of my life. If I now think about going back and being a starving artist again and not investing in my financial future and not investing in my health and well-being, it's a personal decision, but I don't think I would go back just to gain that little extra time in my home studio, which brings me to my third point. Do I still have time to make art now, right? Now that I have an office job? Well, it's a part-time job, so that changes things. But yes, I do still have time, and I actually don't think I have any less time in my home studio than before, because I actually, said no to shitty commission jobs. So all that space freed up. I actually feel quite liberated now to make the stuff that I want to make. And I do have to plan things well, but something that I noticed was that I actually function best if I get up early in the morning, make myself that nice, delicious cup of coffee, and then I spend about 2 hours a day really creatively and artistically peaking. And after that artistic peak of about 2 hours a day, I actually have the rest of the day to do mundane tasks, including the stuff that I have to do for my office job, or a lot of the stuff that I have to do for that. And that system actually works surprisingly well. And if you want proof, I actually made a song called See You at the Office, and I made it in the past couple of weeks in between my office work in my home studio, and I'm going to show it to you. First, I want to say, if you ever want to learn finger drumming, if you ever want to learn how to make things groove or groove more in your home studio, then make sure you check out questforgroove.com. And with that said, here's the song I made. Let's rock.
Hello, maybe you don't know me. Why don't you have a seat? I'm making macaroni because I just gave up all my dreams, so I'm cooking something simple tonight. You might think that I'm dramatic, that I'll just keep making music from my attic, but I now see things, they aren't static, and I gotta make the fluids flow right. 'Cause that's life, boy.
or something? Could you guys help me out with that?
You could say that I'm a quitter, that I never had what it takes, and now I'm bitter. But I now see life is not a Twitter stream of endless inspirational quotes. Good luck following your passion. I cheer you when you're climbing and catch you when you're crashing, because I will always show compassion to a fellow former fool down the road. Cause that's life, boy. You think that you're smarter, but just by running harder you won't get very far. That's right, boy. Go write yourself a haiku and think that girls will like you cause you play the guitar. So see you at the office in a couple of years.
Oh, hey, I was trying to change the staples into stapler, but now I stapled my finger, so is there like a nurse on premises, like an office nurse or something? Okay.